日本の野球ファンにもすっかり顔なじみとなったディラン・ヘルナンデス記者とジャック・ハリス記者が自身たちのポッドキャスト番組カリフォルニアポストスポーツで WBC 日本代表について語りました。番組では WBC という大会がメジャーの選手たちにとってどれほど特別な舞台になっているのかを語り、今後の展望についても言及。さらにチームメイトの声をもとに侍ジャパンの意外なエピソードやテレビ中継では映らない舞台裏の雰囲気にも踏み込んでいます。その模様を日本語字幕付きでご紹介しますので、ぜひ最後までご覧ください。
All right. Well, let's talk about some actual baseball that's being played right now. World Baseball Classic. Are you into this at all?
The World Baseball Classic. I am into it. Now, I think, I don't know. I'm into it. I also think that there's a degree of, it's cool to watch. I think what's missing is like some of the top players being out is disappointing. And I especially felt that like watching some of these Puerto Rico games, which have been really cool. Probably like the coolest part of this to me. What did you just drink?
Grapefruit juice.
Okay.
I love grapefruit juice. It's my favorite kind of juice. You know what the best part of grapefruit juice is?
What?
Nobody in my family likes grapefruit juice, so I can drink it. But like I buy grapefruit juice and I know it's all mine.
All right. Is that how the WBC goes too? You just turn it on and then the TV's all yours? Because I think those are like the two camps, right? It's either like for baseball diehards or a wider audience. Now, I think if you're a baseball diehard, like it's been cool watching, again, like the Puerto Rican games, the Dominican games. Honestly, like the U.S. games have been, like they haven't played that well. It's been kind of boring. The Japanese games have looked pretty interesting if you've been waking up in the middle of the night to watch them.
Yeah, they can't pitch, man.
Yeah, it's a problem. Here's my take on the WBC, because I do think that it's penetrated the culture in a way that we haven't really seen that tournament do before. I think it's been reflected in just the conversations around it, the TV ratings, the fact that Otani hitting that grand slam in the first game got whatever dozens of millions of views on Twitter. Here's my take. This WBC is a sign of why the Dodgers are good for baseball. Because if you look at this tournament, right, like think about the key players, the key characters in this. It's Otani and Yamamoto and Team Japan and that whole dynamic, which a lot of that, whatever, was baked in, the fact that they were good in 2023. But that team has a different resonance because of those players, because of the Dodgers, because of that connection. And then if you even look at the other like top players in the tournament, right? Bryce Harper, Juan Soto, Kyle Schwarber, Vladimir Guerrero Jr. These are all guys that have seen their profiles raised because they've gone up against the Dodgers in the past couple postseasons.
Yeah, you're right. Bryce Harper was a real nobody until he played the Dodgers.
Well, I mean, but I think it's different, right? Like the Dodgers have drawn in, like I think that.
Yeah. No, I'm with you. I'm with you on that.
It hits on the main point, right? Of like people might hate the Dodgers and hate what they're doing to the sport, but they are drawing attention to it in a way that is making even these kinds of things, giving it a different kind of relevance, right? And maybe it's just because, we're around the Dodgers and that's the lens I view all of this through as I watch. But that's kind of what struck me is, okay, all these people that have become, I think, main characters in baseball postseasons because they're trying to take down the Dodgers or part of them or whatever, like this is another way to showcase them in a way that I think, and this is where the tournament itself is good. There's a lot of dramatic moments. The emotions and the passions are incredible. I think it's been interesting watching some of the discourse around, like Kike Hernandez said, winning in a WBC might mean more, means, has a different meaning than even winning a World Series. And I think that part's been interesting because it hits on, for these guys, there's something about playing in this tournament that gives you a feeling that isn't replicated even when you're, in the MLB postseason or playing in a World Series. And I think getting to see these guys who have become big stars in the sport and have helped drive the sport's popularity play in that kind of environment has been very cool to watch. And I think this tournament has done the best job of kind of capturing all of that, even through only like the pool stage right now. I think it'll only get better with the knockout games. Okay, let's focus on some of the Dodger players in the WBC. You've been following Team Japan closely from afar. You're going to be in Miami next week for the knockout rounds. How has Otani looked? Obviously, the stats have been good. Tell me about. I know you wrote about this. The leadership role he has taken on this team, because I think it's going to be interesting for Dodger fans to kind of see and hear the way that Otani has kind of taken the reins of this Japanese team and the kind of culture he's brought to it, the atmosphere he's brought to it.
Yeah, it's interesting, right? Because I think in Japan, right, ability obviously matters a lot, but so does seniority, right? And I think kind of the older guy naturally is going to be kind of the leader of the team. The previous tournament, Darvish was really kind of the guy that was really kind of credited for kind of rallying everybody. Now, you kind of did see a passing of the torch at the end of that tournament, where before the game, right, the championship game against the U.S., Otani gives this, right, he gave this speech that worked really well. But this time he kind of went in as kind of the undisputed like leader, and so yeah, one of the younger pitchers who pitches for the Nippon Ham Fighters, which is his former team. So that makes him kind of like a kohai of Otani, and so Otani can kind of boss him around and kind of half playfully told him like, I don't care if you don't sleep, you need to think of a celebration for us. So first he came up with like a teacup celebration, just holding a Japanese like teacup. Otani didn't like it, said go back to work.
Just holding a teacup?
Well, you kind of rub it.
What is the celebration?
You kind of rub the thing, I guess.
What, like a genie in a
it's like
lamp?
it's a formal, like in a tea ceremony, I guess. I don't know. I don't do tea ceremonies.
Okay.
But he told
I would have had him go back and change it too.
Yeah, go back, do it again. And so now it's kind of this tea whisking thing, right? And not to get too technical, but like one of the letters, so you call that ochao tateru, right? You kind of whisk tea. The letter, the Chinese character that you would use for tateru is also the word that means like point, right? Or in baseball, it would be like a run. Okay. So it kind of had like a double meaning, so they went with that.
That's convenient.
What is kind of interesting though is that during the exhibition games, honestly, what my honest thoughts were like, man, this is like a really clownish Japanese team, right? I mean, these guys who, there's a great documentary on Koshien that's on Netflix right now. If you want to see what that culture is like, just take a look at that, right? And so these guys that were basically borderline abused through high school are now, laughing in the dugout. I mean, they had like a very kind of like Latin American vibe to them, and watching that, I kind of thought like, man, this is like watching like a Brazilian soccer team trying to play defense, right? Like, I'm not really like, something's always going to go kind of wrong because, I kind of think that there is like a national character that every country and stuff has. But what was interesting in that first game though, right, against Taiwan, you just kind of saw the expressions. They were just different. It was just different, right? There wasn't, they're having a good time, but it turned serious all of a sudden, And so, I think that, Otani talked about this, like Seiya Suzuki, who's the same age as Otani, and therefore can kind of like, right, kind of tease him and stuff. And he's been kind of teasing him over the years, even since he's come here. Suzuki talked about how, the younger players are like terrified to talk to him, right? Just because stature wise, it's just such like an imbalance. So that this whole exercise, and Otani talked about this too, was really the whole point of this was, hey, so we can kind of communicate and just kind of break down these barriers of seniority. And when you really think about it, you talk about the Dodgers. I mean, they do all their like stupid celebrations, right? I mean, I guess people like, but like
people want the matcha whisking or whatever to come to be the Dodgers celebration now.
Yeah, well, they do like the hip blocking thing, and I think like all those like little things actually, right? And even if you go back to his time with the Angels when they got that samurai helmet, right? I think Otani has kind of taken a bit of like American kind of baseball culture, right? I mean, actually, in the last tournament, I don't know if you remember, but Lars Nootbaar had that that pepper thingy dispensing thingy
grinder
and so yeah, I think he's kind of used that as a tool to kind of build, some chemistry on the team, especially, I think that there is becoming this bigger divide, between the Japanese players, right? The older ones that have been here for a while now, and like the younger players, again, never even played against Otani in Japan, right? I mean, while there are some of the older Japanese guys might have, right? Like Okamoto before coming here, obviously he played against Otani. But a lot of the younger guys really didn't. So this was a good way to kind of break the ice. And that, from that standpoint, it's been really kind of interesting. I don't think, I just don't think Japan's going to, I don't know. I'd be kind of surprised if they got there, outside of their top few hitters right now. It's Otani, it's Suzuki, it's Yoshida. Murakami has not hit well. He didn't hit great in the last tournament. Defensively, I don't think they're very good either. Yoshida's, in the outfield, he doesn't move as well as he used to last time. They got Murakami at first base, which looks like kind of a, problem waiting to happen. Yeah. So, we'll see though. Again, anytime, they can bunt a guy over. They're pretty good at that. So if it's a close game, maybe that'll be the difference. But what has been interesting though, I think about Otani, right? Now, granted, the level of pitching here obviously is not right what it is in the major leagues. I mean, the first game against Taiwan, I think the guy was throwing like 85 or something. But what has been interesting is kind of the different roles Otani can play, right? At least at, again, against this level of pitching, it's like, there are times he's like the table setter, right? He's fine taking the walk. He's fine just kind of getting on base. When there are guys on base, he's the guy that can drive the ball out. And you really kind of see the change in approach from at bat to at bat, whereas probably in the major leagues, a little bit harder to do when everybody's throwing 100 on every pitch. But, from that standpoint, I think that this has really kind of been interesting. And, I know we always kind of like to compare players from like different eras, right? But it would have been kind of interesting to see a guy like Otani in an era where, again, not every pitch is coming in 100, because again, you kind of actually see like his versatility, like in kind of a different way, right? I mean, it does feel like he's 2 or 3 batters in one in the role he's playing right now.
I mean,
最後までご覧いただきありがとうございました。今回の動画についてどういう感想を持たれましたか？ぜひコメント欄で意見や感想をお聞かせください。チャンネル登録やグッドボタンを押していただけると励みになります。それでは次回の動画でお会いしましょう。